I finished Syphon Filter on PS1 for probably like the third time now, and there's just something about this game that keeps me coming back. If you played the demo or the full game, and you weren't doing this, then did you actually play Syphon Filter? I missed that R1 does automatic aiming for a while, so I'm not entirely sure how I managed to kill so many enemies right at the start here. I remember this first level fairly well from the countless times I messed around in the demo and the previous playthroughs of this game. I got my first dumb death here as an exploding police car took me out whilst I was fumbling around trying to decide the best way to kill these rooftop guys. I stumbled through this first actual pressure point of the level and somehow barely took damage, unlike the guys I was meant to be protecting. This level is ridiculously forgiving, I think, because there's no way me messing around with the D-pad aiming this much worked in the later levels. Nope, still don't need to be down there. It's crazy how much of this first level I remember from the demo 25 years ago. I may not have known the order, but I did remember the area as well. Right, finally now we can get down to the subway. Just a quick detour first as we kill our first important enemy target. I knew he had a flat jacket on, so made quick work of him with a headshot. I still haven't figured out that the R1 does the automatic aiming at this point, by the way. I quickly cleared out the enemies on the first level of the subway, and then spent an embarrassing amount of time perplexed about how to get through this gate. I thought there was some explosives I needed to fetch or something. Nope, just an elevator in a dark room next to a switch I pulled multiple times and wondered, wow, that was a weird noise, what did that do? Whilst figuring that out, I did accidentally get a checkpoint for finding the viral bomb that was mentioned to me like 15 minutes ago. I even briefly went back outside again trying to figure out where I was meant to be going. One eternity later, and success! I finally found the elevator hidden in the dark. Then stood like a melon as the guy walked towards me with a shotgun whilst I was holding a torch and trying to find the right weapon. I once again am very lucky that the guys in this first level aren't all that competent. Anyway, I used that guy's shotgun to have fun clearing out the enemies down on this second level, and killing the last guy led to the end of the level. One explosive cutscene later and the first mission is finally done. That took me 40 minutes, by the way. I had to see the start of this level at least 4 times or something stupid because I kept missing what triggered the first checkpoint of the level and then dying in a stupid way. I went up and down this platforming section more times than I cared to remember, and I even found the bomb I tagged from the first level whilst trying to do the first objective of find C4 to get past the security gate. Whilst this bomb would do the job, perhaps it's not the right type of bomb. Finally, 22 minutes into this level, I found the freaking explosives and got the checkpoint, which was about 1 minute into the level if I wasn't blind. In my defense, it was hiding in the dark on the tracks, okay? Back up here we go again. At least this time I can blow the security gate open and do something about that bomb I keep running into. Oh crap, run! A quick holdout whilst we protect the CBDC agent later, and we're on our way again. Almost immediately getting killed by a man on fire running towards us. Getting flashbacks to the start of the level now. Ahaha, this level is done. Wow, it's short when you know what you're doing. This boss fight for this next level was super easy. Dodge the trains whilst running up the tracks and a quick headshot gets the job done. Next level. What the hell, why is it so green here? Is this meant to be fog or something? Weird. Anyway, there's even more bombs we've got to get CBDC agents to come and defuse whilst we stand guard. This part level is massive too, and we've only got 20 minutes until they all go off. The first 2 bombs were easy enough to deal with thanks to their surroundings, but we unfortunately lost a CBDC agent on the second one. We got ambushed in this courtyard area on our way to the next bomb, but at least a flat jacket was available. This next bomb felt like it was in the middle of nowhere, just running through the darkness, blasting the bad guys. I somehow had a severe lack of ammo here and ended up failing to protect this bomb the first time. After a long trek back I got it dealt with, but we did lose a CBDC agent. Good job they appeared to be expendable after they defused the bombs. Another ambush on the way to the final bomb. And then I immediately failed to protect the agent. Now I have yet another long walk back. There we go. Now let's go rescue those hostages that have just been casually waiting for us for I don't know how long at this point. I completely screwed this up the first time, as you can see from my lack of decision making and taking 2 business days to decide how to kill the guy. Attempt 2 was much more put together, and then I died to the guy that saw me the first time. Annoyingly, I just got a checkpoint, so I didn't really have much time to react when I loaded back in, as he was already there trying to blow me away. Our next objective was to destroy the communications dish and... oh, apparently I wasn't meant to do that. Whoops. I wasn't listening to Leon there, clearly. There we go. I was meant to interact with it instead. We're close to finishing this level up. Before we head to the Freedom Memorial, we've got this kind of boss battle through a hedge maze. As expected, he had a flat jacket on, so after some terrible aiming, a headshot was the answer. Onwards to the Freedom Memorial, which is to no surprise heavily guarded. Everyone had flat jackets on, so I had to make use of the memorial's surroundings to pick everyone off. Now we can go inside to finish the level.
I'm at the entrance.
This was a fun boss battle. We couldn't just shoot him due to his full body armor, so I tried to headshot him and got turned into ashes pretty quickly. He's slow to find you and get the flamethrower going, but my god, it's deadly when he does get a lock on you. Shooting the tank on his back was the answer, but I really struggled to do that whilst also dodging his attacks. I think it took 3 of those whilst cowering behind a pillar to get the job done as we walked away in a cool guys don't look at explosions kind of way. This next mission is a really slow paced one where we stealthily follow Fagin through this exhibition whilst picking his guards off one by one. I had to suffer through this and now you guys do too. I'm kidding. I failed this I don't know how many times, so here's a montage of that sequence instead. I feel like I brought the wrong gun to this gunfight here. Benton's fires way faster than mine does. This time I get the drop on him, and this level thankfully gets more interesting than following an old man.
He's finished.
Oh, I've always wondered what's behind those staff-only doors. Oh, it's off guards. Great. Whee! That's one way to get down, I suppose. Wait, get back here, will you? Whilst I did manage to kill that guy, his buddies back up top got their revenge. This time I took the sensible way down, aka silently, and got the card key I was looking for. Then I had to stand off against that same guy as before. It was a little more elegant this time. After running around in circles down the bottom here, I took an exploratory journey back up to the top and found a switch to open the gates at the bottom that was shut. This time we can take the slide down and not worry about running into anyone. Oh no way, it was a damn timed switch. Give me a minute to climb back up and pull the switch and get back down again. Phew, alright. I will not be happy if I have to climb all the way back up there again. And here we meet a nice fellow who gives us another card key. That gets us into the NASA exhibit, but the staff here weren't very welcoming again. Unfortunately, we don't get to marvel at the massive rocket for very long as we bust our way through into a locker room, dispatch 2 more guys, and then make our way to Mars. But I think it's Mars anyway. After dealing with the agents in here, I flipped a gate control switch, but I wasn't entirely sure what it did, to be honest. It certainly wasn't for the gate behind me. I backtracked to the rocket and used some creative thinking to get the elevator to go 1 level higher than we could access earlier. That got us to parts of the map that we were at earlier, but a few levels higher. Running past the giant Mayan slide up here whilst dodging a ton of enemies got us yet another card key. How many of these things are there? I had to pick that up where there was no cover, so I ended up with a hail of gunfire from across the way heading towards me as I sprinted back to the safety of the other end of the corridor. Anyway, I had a hunch this card key was for the gate control panel that did nothing earlier, so I headed back that way. I was right, and we interrupted the moon landing with a rather large gunfight. With that, we used the Moonlander as a climbing apparatus and make our way into the security room and find the old man again. The start of this level didn't give you much chance to react as we also got found in the process. After that, we decided that stairs were overrated and took a bit of a shortcut down to the main lobby. Once down here, we deal with a few guys and get yet another card key. At this point, it's very obvious that the entire building knows we're here as I come across agent after agent, with a good majority of them wearing a flat jacket. Jumping through a fake fish tank, we find the old man being held hostage by Amarov, and so naturally I shoot her in the head. But apparently we needed her alive. Next I tried not shooting her and letting the cutscene play out, but then the old man died and we need him as well. I tried not headshotting her instead, but that outright killed her too. Whoops. My silenced 9mm pistol also did the same thing. I was quite stumped at this point, so I thought maybe I had to smash through the window via climbing on top of this dinosaur, but it wasn't that either. Eventually I figured out that I could stand on the dinosaur tail and use a taser to break the glass and zap her at the same time. Who knew tasers were strong enough to break the glass? Now we dealt with that, we could continue our climb up the dinosaur and get to Amroz's incapacitated body to end the mission. The next mission was another stealth one, this time inside an army base. The first guy I tried to kill ended up moving right as I fired a shot, and that put the entire base on alert. You soon get gunned down when that happens, so it's not like you can just ignore it. The aim of this mission is to place explosives on all of their gas or oil tanks, not sure what they are. Anyway, this time around I got the first explosive placed without issue. A couple of alarms later, and I got explosive number 2 planted, along with disabling the motion sensor power which comes in handy later on. This mission can be really satisfying at times. Not when you almost set off the alarms like that though. Another explosive planted, but there's still 2 more to do. Luckily the next one is really close by. 1 more to go once we sneak past these 2 guys standing here. I tried just shooting them in quick succession, but that didn't work. We had to just walk past them at a distance instead. The final tank and the next objective were both in one place, but the next objective had bodyguards, so we couldn't do either of those just yet. We simply had to hide in this doorway and watch him walk past, whilst we then scurried past to plant the last explosive. This guy was also incredibly blind. With the last explosive planted, we were able to pick off Gabrek and his bodyguards without putting the entire base on alert. It was an almost flawless execution. At this point I thought maybe we didn't have to be so careful, but killing these guys in the wrong order proved me wrong. They put the base on alert and I just absolutely legged it, somehow avoiding multiple shotgun blasts from these guys and making it to the end of the level. The only problem was I took a few hits and was lacking armor as I started the next mission. Luckily, there was a free flak jacket right at the start. This level was basically just shutting off laser grids, opening doors and indexing 10 missiles whilst avoiding the guards. Not all that exciting, more frustrating than anything as it had no checkpoints and you had to do it all in one chunk. One last ambush before we took the elevator to the roof and had a man versus helicopter battle on top of the roof. Unfortunately we didn't have a rocket launcher, so it was a whole lot of hiding behind this concrete structure and pumping what felt like hundreds of bullets into the chopper. Our C4 that we had planted earlier had already gone off at this point, so now we just had 3 minutes to get out of here. With the base already on high alert, it was just a lot of running and gunning our way through it, which was kind of fun after having to be super careful earlier. My terrible aim almost got me blown up right at the end, but we managed to make it out. Now things get interesting, let's say, for the next few levels. We're in a cathedral and we have to kill monks and scientists as they are part of the terrorist organisation we're stopping, or something. Once we find our way inside, which the monks really aren't a fan of, we need to go and find people infected with Syphon Filter so we can inject them with an antigen. After gunning our way through some monks, we find our next test subject to inject. For a while, I was running around a little confused because I didn't see how to progress other than a door that was locked. I did eventually realise that I missed a corridor early on, and so was able to find the next test subject, but the door was still locked. Probably not even a few minutes ago I said we needed to kill scientists, which I didn't realise at this point when playing the game. I thought we had to keep them alive. Eventually, after I don't know how much footage I just scrolled through there, like 20 minutes probably, I just shot a scientist out of frustration, and to my surprise, I didn't fail the mission. Instead I was told there were 9 more scientists left to kill. So after a short rampage later I found a card key. Finally, I can get past that locked door. We even get to kick it open for good measure. They didn't take too kindly to us being out on this balcony, so we had to fight our way through to the next test subject, who was then heavily guarded as well. After almost getting killed by a very angry scientist and his monk bodyguards, we made it into the library, which gave the monks a big height advantage over me. I barely survived this gunfight after multiple close calls and a failed gas grenade. I was thankful for the amount of flak jackets left laying around after that. Final test subject dealt with, and we're out of here? Maybe? Not quite. Another army of monks and an unarmed scientist later, and we're finally done with our objectives. 2 more monks tried to stop us catching the elevator, but finally we were done with this mission. What a relief.
Help me.
The next mission starts out with the exact same objectives: save the test subjects and kill the 9 scientists. Oh joy. By this point, both the scientists and the monks were heavily armed and armoured, so getting these 4 test subjects was quite an adventure. All of the doorways were blocked too, so some creative platforming was needed. After getting shotgun blasted more than once, we got the next scientist and the first card key of the level. Back out of here, and through a stained glass window we passed earlier, gets us a gunfight with the scientist and the door that the card key belongs to. Once again, making sure we kick it open in dramatic fashion. We get shot in the back as we enter and make our way into a very green lit lab with 2 more scientists. One was very cowardly and the other not so much. A monk with grenades tried to join in the fun, but wasn't successful. There were monks everywhere at this point, and we couldn't walk around a corner without being shot. Things got more and more intense as I got closer to the objective, and the scientist even snuck his way into the gunfights.
I found the Rose Chapel.
We get told to make our way outside, so once again we continue our trend of breaking very elaborate glass structures, and out we go. It was an awful lot of faith from Gabe that we weren't still 10 stories high at this point. Well, we're outside now, but so are all of the monks as well. I don't know how I survived this section in the graveyard here, but we did. And that led to the final scientist of the mission. Hey, I recognise that artwork. At this point, we'd made our way down a level from where we were earlier on, and yet another gunfight ensued. Skipping past that, and me dying, and we get to the end of the level. To no surprise to anyone, there was a small army waiting for us here. My aiming was pretty good initially, then it wasn't, but we made it past them, picked up our spoils of war, and got down to the catacombs. I absolutely despise this level. It might actually be the most tedious one of the lot so far. It's another follow mission, so as we did way earlier on, I'll also just montage this bit for you instead of sitting through the entire thing. We find the old man we were after and dispose of the scientists that we were following for the entire thing so far. Now we do at least get to fight our way out of here, but it's still somewhat a follow mission. On the bright side, the old man does know how to move at a decent pace. We just gotta have eyes in the back of our heads this entire segment. These guys were brutal. They came in pairs or threes, and had much superior firepower than I did. It took me multiple attempts to get through here, and I actually died right as I hit a checkpoint, which was super fortunate. They really weren't messing around the further we got into this level either. I swear this old man is trying to get us killed. I couldn't even see the guys I was shooting half the time. Eventually, we made it to our partner, Leon, who was much more capable. The old man ran off never to be seen again, and we worked together with Leon to get out of here, rather than following her out. She was an absolute weapon getting us out of here. It's almost like her being locked up in her cell for ages gave her a grudge or something. There were multiple times here where I was actually happy to see a monk wearing a flak jacket. It meant I had a chance to survive longer. Again, I died right as we hit the checkpoint because I got tempted by a weapon case. Alright, maybe it was like 4 times. After that, I learnt my lesson but barely had any health. Finally, the exit! Oh hey, it's the old man. Oh, never mind. Right, now we're on the final stretch of this game. This next level was both confusing and not. With all of the fences and dead ends, it made navigating through it and all of the warehouses quite difficult. Not to mention 2 different groups of armed men going at each other and me. The first checkpoint was actually right near the start of the mission as we picked up a viral scanner to help us tag shipments of infected, and presumably dead bodies. The first one wasn't too far away, and after that I made use of my taser and shotgun to get to the first warehouse we needed to visit. Behind this stack of barrels was a super secret underground tunnel that went off in multiple directions. We can't get one of those directions just yet due to the electrified fencing, so we follow the path to where we can shut that off. Naturally, it's in the most impractical, precarious position it could possibly be as I had to climb up this stack of boxes and shimmy my way along a wire or something to get to this ledge way up high to pull this switch. How do you even get here normally? Now how do I even get down from here? My first attempt ended in death, but I guess the AI were feeling kind on the second, and I made it back the way I came. Back through the tunnels and we can bust open the previously electrified gates. One direction took me to a warehouse door I couldn't open from this side, so the other way it is, I guess. The amount of enemies in this direction would suggest this was probably the right choice. It then split off again, and I took the wrong route and accidentally found the end of the level. Leon wasn't happy about that, and made me complete my objectives first. Right, so the way I went originally with the locked door was the correct way all along. Wait, maybe not. Is he jumped back where I was earlier on? Huh? I definitely can't get in here either. Oh, ha ha ha, there's a window I can get through. Here's the second viral carrier shipment I needed to tag. That's why I couldn't get in that door, it was blocked off. Right, now where? I went all the way back to the start and thought I'd found it when I was able to get through these doors, but nope. I needed to be through a gate right near where we turned the power off earlier. Up this stack of boxes, through the window, and holy crap, these guys aren't happy about that. It's such a long run back there as well. Ugh. Good news though, if I get past these guys, there is a viral carrier in here that we can tag. This time I jumped straight back out the window once I saw the guys coming and decided on the best plan of action was they lobbed grenades at the window, but luckily not through the window. That did, however, give me an idea. As they seemed to know where I was, I stood in front of the door that wouldn't open it, and yes indeed, they did blow it open for me. That allowed me to take out all three in quick succession and get the viral carrier tagged. I think I can get out of here now. Success! Alright, a bit of aimless wandering around to start this level before getting killed. That went on for a while until this bit where it felt like I was making some progress. Yep, definitely making progress here as I get ambushed on this roof that took me way too long to get to. I couldn't figure out how to kill those guys without losing a bunch of armor and health, so I gave up on that plan for a bit. In the process of checking the map, I realised I was meant to be finding more viral carriers to tag, and the first one was actually in the general area where I thought I was making progress earlier. After that, I did eventually manage to get up on that roof from earlier, but after all of that, it turned out that it was just a weapon cache of grenades, so not worth it. Back on the ground, we find a warehouse with the next viral carrier in it, swiftly followed by an ambush. I got caught out by it the first time, but was ready the second time. I then spent the next while just checking random buildings to see if I could find the final viral carrier, but to no avail. I found a fence that was blocking my way through, and eventually tracked down how to get past it. It's the roof from earlier that I thought was pointless. I'm not sure what my plan was here, but it didn't work out. I used grenades and height to my advantage the second time and got much better results. The final viral carrier of the mission was right where I'd just blown those guys up, which was super handy. That's one objective done at least.
That's the last viral carrier.
Shooting our way through the tunnel that those guys came from gets us to the very end of the level, but not before dying to our rogue grenades as we try and exit the tunnel. This time I just legged it to the door and finished the level. Man, am I glad to see the end of this area. I can't imagine the game is going to get any easier from here on out. It really feels like we're on the final stretch of things. Somehow Gabe and various agents survived that massive explosion and now everything is on fire. So obviously we go running headfirst into the building. For the mission! With fire everywhere, it meant that one wrong move like this puts an end to things very quickly. Or doing something dumb like that. I spent ages staring at this walkway trying to figure out how to get onto it, and when I turned around there was a very obvious hole in the wall to roll through. Where the hell did you come from, and why am I playing Tomb Raider all of a sudden? Funnily enough, being down there is where I needed to be, but I imagine if I did it via standing on one of those walkway pieces for too long, that would have been the wrong way to get down. This game really does like throwing burning people towards us, huh? An ambush by these three armoured guys would have proved difficult if it wasn't for the very explosive barrels that they landed in front of. Up where they came from, and through another hole in the wall leads to miraculously surviving an enemy blowing themselves up with some barrels in front of them that they shot instead of me. Hey look, it's a Tomb Raider segment again. I was so in the rhythm of blindly climbing up and down things, I almost just dropped myself down, straight down this very empty elevator shaft here. After having second thoughts about that, it turned out the switch for the elevator was right there, and after putting a bullet in it, the elevator arrived.
Did you reach anyone yet?
Still, place will be swarming with.
The next mission opens with two guys heading to our position very rapidly whilst we stand still watching the cinematic. They were already shooting at us just as we gained control. I gunned two of them down and then a third turned up. I was so happy to see a flat jacket weapon cache next to me whilst I was taking cover. Flak jackets don't help against guys like this that just throw grenades at you constantly though. I was ready for him the next time. I wonder if those laser grid things actually hurt. I never did find out. I ran up and down this tunnel a few times and I feel like through sheer luck I managed to find the right hole to climb down. After getting down, I was very tentative running through this corridor. It felt like I was going to get ambushed or blown away any second. Given the amount of people that I encountered, I was glad I took it slowly. I eventually found an elevator control panel, but of course all of the earlier explosions had taken the power offline, so we had to go and fix that. Oh hey, look at that. It was in a room that you wouldn't normally be able to access. Where have we seen that before? With the power restored, it took me a little while to get out and down from here, as apparently everyone had turned up to marvel at my success. I thought I'd finally gotten down, and then some other guy came charging at me just as I let my guard down. Right, finally. I got the elevator switch pulled and rode it down a level. How many of these guys are there? Oh, what? Now we're going back up an elevator? Well, hopefully with the other side of the lasers that were blocking us earlier. Well, I don't know how I didn't take more damage during that fight, but I'll take it.
Be careful.
Anyway, we finally make it to the main power room, and apparently the only option is to release all the safety valves and blow the entire place up. As you can see from the cutscene, we very clearly have an explosion go off where we were standing, but let's pretend we didn't see that.
Gabe, are you there? Gabe, are you alright?
I'm here. It's okay.
Predictably, everything is on fire again, and the only way for us to go now is down. Feels like the subway section all over again. It was surprisingly dark down here. I had to get the flashlight out to make sure I was about to drop onto something and not fall into the abyss. The darkness did make for this fun little section of walking through the pitch black and using the night vision sniper rifle to pick enemies off though. It was a nice change from just running around being in constant firefights. After being careful not to fall down into the hole at the end instead of falling down it multiple times in the dark, we eventually found another steel structure to climb up. With us having blown up the power generator or whatever it was called, literally everywhere was pitch black in here now. There wasn't really anything interesting going on though. After we got up to the top of the structure, it was more of the same. I silently made my way through the tunnels with heavy use of the flashlight, pausing to silently take out guards when needed. We made it to the elevator to the silo, which conveniently is the only thing still powered, and ended that very quiet level.
Our 9 silos were comprised of 3 levels. There should be a launch computer on level 1 near the elevator.
Copy. I'm on my way down.
The final few missions are upon us now. We get instructed to stop a missile launch, which I didn't realise was actually timed. I thought I could take my sweet ass time getting there, and the thing would launch just as we completed the objective or something. I was completely wrong. As I was taking my time to get past the guards that are somehow still here, the rocket started taking off and I got turned into dust. I was faster the second time, but ended up going completely the wrong direction, realised too late, and again was met with a similar fate. After looking at the map, I was sure I knew where I should be going, and I was right. I just didn't climb high enough, as I didn't realise I could jump up and grab something directly above me. Phew, okay. We used the control panel on the rocket and managed to stop Syphon Filter being exploded above the Earth. Or did we? After the cutscene, the rocket is beginning to take off, and we have to somehow get out of here. I figured going up this elevator would work, but that was way too slow. For whatever reason, I tried doing that far too many times before finding a closing blast door behind me that I could sneak under and be safe. Right, now we can get out of here. After disposing of 2 agents and trying to deal with 2 scientists, I met my demise as another agent came out of nowhere. I probably already noted it, but at this point, literally everyone has a flat jacket on. I did a better job of killing a scientist this time around, and got his card key, leaving the other alone as he was no threat to me. We found our way into a giant server room which conveniently had windows and rooms above it that agents could unleash their full firepower from. I was trying to deal with them and find the computer I needed, with about a minute left on the clock before it was game over. I tell you now, that computer was well hidden. It took me a couple of tries to find it, and the one attempt where I did find it, I just sprinted the entire way across that server room without stopping to care about who was shooting me.
I don't think so.
I thought we were done with the game at this point, but just as the cutscene was finishing, some other asshole comes along and blows us out of existence with a grenade launcher. Again. And again. And again. And again. This is impossible. No joke. I was coming back from the checkpoint and almost just insta-exploding. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing here. I swear he had a bulletproof head after, like, the 10th time of this happening. Even just getting out of the small section the computer was in was very difficult, and the guys I left alone earlier were still there adding to the difficulty. Finally I disposed of them, found some gas grenades up here, and managed to throw one in the right direction before he could get a grenade launched up into here. Now we have finally actually done with the game. What a ride that was.
What now?
Despite this being the third time finishing the game, I genuinely didn't remember anything at all past the levels in the exposition center, which has accidentally proved my own point. I enjoyed the bits I knew and the bits that I'd forgotten about.
I don't know.
For me, this game will always be that first level in the Washington streets. I remember it so fondly from the demo all those years ago. Nostalgia talking or not, I dare say it's the best level in the game. It's not nostalgia that will keep me coming back to this game though. Syphon Filter is genuinely a good game, and I bet you don't believe me when I say that this is from the guys that brought us Bubsy 3D just a few years earlier. If you haven't played this before, or only played the demo, go and pick it up and give it a playthrough. It's still relatively cheap to pick up a physical copy even now. Let me know about your experience of this game in the comments below. In the meantime, I shall move on to Syphon Filter 2.